Losers Bracket Podcast, round 118, and tonight we're going to do a little bit of MLG Anaheim wrap-up. Just flew back in from California earlier today, and man, it was an exciting week in eSports. Started out the week, of course, with E3, and then, what an incredible eSports event MLG Anaheim was. The KESPA event, when that happened Saturday night, literally gave me chills. Absolutely stunning time. I'm here with my co-host, as always. Got Jerry, got Kurt. Kurt, from home, what was the spectator experience like, my friend? How did you enjoy the weekend?
Strictly on a spectator experience without, I guess my xSixSuppy affiliations, it was an amazing event. Overall, great stuff, lots of stuff to talk about. With xSixSuppy involved, we had an amazing weekend. We'll get to talk about that a little bit. We'll have Suppy on as well after EGiNcontroL. So yeah, I'm excited for tonight, and I'm even more excited for the future. Jerry, how about you, buddy?
It was one of those weekends where, even though I don't think we did as good in fighters as we thought, I really still liked the event. I think Glon did really well in Starcraft for the MLG side. Our League of Legends team learned a lot, which is why they were there. I think they have a great future in front of them. So, when it comes to developing players, a lot of good stuff there. I was busy, a lot of meetings with people. So I spent a lot of time in my hotel room, met with some people from Gamer Gloves and a couple other things, and it was a good. Spent a lot of time interviewing people about E3 because I wasn't there, so I wanted to know what was going on there. So it was busy, but it was good. It was a huge event. I think it was the first time I felt like it was clear that the addition of League of Legends had a huge impact on Major League Gaming. That's just sort of the bottom line to me.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. League of Legends, just the entire spectator area at times was just so packed. It was one of those things that we hear more chairs, more chairs, more chairs. I don't even know if we could fit more in that small space where all those people. Oh, it was incredible. But all that to the side, let's talk about that a little bit later on. I want to get right to our first guest. We have EGiNcontroL joining us tonight. You are a busy man, my friend, flying around the world, already hopping back on the show, streaming afterwards. I appreciate you stopping by tonight. Geoff, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, just trying to keep busy. I'm actually going to leave for Sweden Thursday, bright and early. Mm-hmm. And up until then, it's just kind of business as usual.
Yeah, most definitely. DreamHack, right?
Yep.
Doing casting over there, I believe, with DJ Wheat and a couple others. Am I correct?
Apollo, Kaldor, DJ Wheat, myself. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Sweden is a beautiful, awesome country. Anytime you get to go to a far and away, distant land on someone else's dime, I consider that a pretty good thing. So,
yeah, definitely.
Always excited for the opportunity.
That's really cool. Well, since you're here, tell us a little bit about your trip out to Anaheim. How did you enjoy the event? What were your thoughts?
I thought the event was awesome. MLG is very rarely, I guess that's actually kind of a cliche. They never disappoint as far as I'm concerned. Even the fateful 2010 Dallas, I think it was, or maybe it was 2011, whichever. The one that they always harken back to as their worst was still fine for me. So maybe I'm easy to please, but I had a good time. Competitively speaking, it was obviously one of my worst performances, so that's very forgettable. Trained, worked really hard going into it, so very, very disappointed in that. But the nice thing for me is there's still a future, so I still have more things to look forward to and work harder to hopefully get closer to the mark that I'm trying to leave for myself. But as far as the event itself is concerned, it was just an amazing opportunity to meet a lot of people, network with a lot of people, but also see a lot of fans that I think the West Coast, for whatever reason, is kind of neglected from major competitions. MLG Anaheim is like one of the only ones I can name, actually, that is on that scale. So it's really cool to see that side of the country in that light.
Right. That's awesome. Jerry, I know that you have some questions as well. Please feel free.
Yeah, I want to hop in because I thought something Geoff said caught my attention, which I thought was really, as you well know, Geoff, a lot of people look up to you. A lot of people love what you do and feel that you really add a lot of value to the community, and I would share their opinion. I think you do a fantastic job in that. But you talked a little bit of just now, sort of like leaving your mark or what you want to accomplish. And as someone who's been a player and, done as much as you have, I guess a lot of people would be interested in learning, Geoff. What is that? Because it sounds to me like you're talking a little bit about success in your eyes and leaving that lasting contribution. What do you see that as?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways to do that. I think there's a full spectrum of players you can look at that contribute in different ways. Not to pick on them, but like a Cats. Cat's probably not going to win an MLG, but because his fun and engaging personality really ropes people in, and because he's a very popular streamer, he is one of the major contributors. He has a lot to offer. He also is a good talent scout. He does fun and creative builds, so he's kind of pushing the creative side of the game in terms of its competitive development. So that's his story. Those are ways that he can contribute. And for me, I think a lot of people talk about the shows that I do or my leadership role with EG and other ways that I contribute to this scene. But for me, that's not enough. I don't want to go into a tournament as a novelty or as a token that I am able to do that because of these other things that I do. I don't want to be a mid-tier or low tier anything. I want to be an upper tier player. And a lot of people kind of smirk at that or say that you're kidding yourself. You'll never actually get there, and that's fine. If that's the mentality that a lot of people want to have about themselves or other people, then more power to them. But for me, I will always pursue trying to win a tournament and trying to be a threat and to make a legitimate dent in a competition. I don't want to be he ran into that first really good player and he almost gave him a good fight. Nobody wants to be that guy. Well, maybe somebody does, but I don't. So for me, when my gaming career is done, I know that I'll have a positive impact. I know that what I do outside the game and sometimes within it as well is going to do good stuff, and I'm happy and I'm content and I'm pleased with that. And I'm always going to work to improve on the scope of that, of course. But for me, selfishly, I also want to have a few accolades competitively because that's what I've done my entire life. I've always played sports, always did debate, that kind of stuff. So that's how I want to contribute as well. And I think that also lends itself to one to the other, because people know my personal story better because of the shows that I'm on and how vocal I am. They care more about my success or failures. And I think if I have a major success, that excitement and that event will supercharge other people's experiences as well. So I'm never just playing for myself. I'm always playing for a large group of other people, and I carry that burden, and I'm honored by it because, again, something I say a lot, if Joe Blow 652 loses in a tournament, nobody tweets him to make fun of him. Nobody is really upset with it. It's just kind of, another day in the life. But for me, people are invested in that, and they do care, and I owe them my greatest effort.
Well said, Geoff. Well said. I'm going to follow that up, and I'm going to sort of hand it off to my co-host here. But I was going to say, when it comes to building a fan base, Geoff, I think it would be fair to say you're one of those people, and there are different ways to build a fan base, and there are different types of fans. But when we look at something that most mimics probably some of the best behaviors and values in traditional sports, I think it wouldn't be unfair to say that you have built a fan base on those same sort of values, being that kind of person, that kind of caring. And I want to talk about that kind of fan base building because I personally believe it's a little bit more important right now as we try to go mainstream. And we always have our bad boys and they can always do the things they do. But as you want to be a little bit more mainstream, I think, before you necessarily brag or show those skeletons. Sure. So I know you get asked this all the time, but for our audience too, I'm going to ask you again, what are some of those key, most important things players should do besides practice, which a lot of them do? And I mean, we could get into a whole conversation about the difference between, playing a lot of games and actually practicing. And I know you've touched on that a lot, but I want to talk about the peripherals, the stuff outside that you think are important, especially when it comes to building a fan base and engaging your fans.
I think that's a great question. There's a lot of people that either it's tough to find the word to describe this, but I guess they downplay it or they even, in some cases, I've had people discourage this element to the game, and they've talked about how, no, actually, if I just keep practicing, the rest will fall into place. Who cares about how good I am in front of a camera or what I say in an interview? And I think that's a misconception. I think that's something that would work if you are a purely casual player who literally is playing for themselves. They aren't represented by sponsors. They don't have a team around them, and they don't have aspirations of developing their gameplay to a point where they're getting paid for it or traveled or garnering interest from people. That's something that vVv talks a lot about is cultivating and developing players into bigger players, into better players. And I think people confuse this with, like, I'm not recommending that they go out and take speech classes, or cut into their day by meeting with a life manager or something drastic.
Like an executive coach or something, right?
Yeah, it's nothing like that. But it certainly would behoove people to work on themselves as a human being, and I think that well-roundedness can translate really well to the business side of this game. And if you're talking about professional organizations like a vVv, then you're talking about people that need to be developing all aspects of themselves so that they can benefit from that. So you talked about, like, the bad boy, and you talked about just kind of like, I guess, neglecting the side of it, or just like being brash. And I absolutely 100% agree with you. I think there are some people who it does work to be the bad boy, but without a shadow of a doubt, one of the things that you'll always fall back on when talking about that person is that they win tournaments. Some of the names that leap out are like a Naniwa or Idra. I don't think anybody would give a damn what they have to say or how they behave if they weren't major winners, if they weren't top tier talent. So for those of us that aren't an Naniwa, for those of us that aren't an Idra, you would actually do very well to work on still being yourself. You don't have to be a brown noser per se, but you should be able to command a certain level of respect. And
I want to interrupt you real quick, Geoff, because that's a really important point you hit on, and I want to talk about that a minute. Because I can hear a young player saying to me, Destiny isn't that good, but look at his fan base, right? And they tend to use that example a lot when I'm trying to give them advice and say, I think that's a little bit different in my mind, but I think you can address it far better than I can. And again, we're not trying to say good or bad things about Destiny. We're just looking at his approach.
Sure.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on, what is a good response when a player says that,
I would always say the reason why a guy like a Destiny works is because not everyone is a Destiny. He's a special character. He's a meld between brash, overt opinions that a lot of times go against the grain. He's funny, he's intelligent, and he's a character. And those are qualities that you can definitely see when people are trying to do it, and it doesn't work. You have to be natural. You have to be somebody that is engaging that way. So trying to be a Destiny is going to make you, at the absolute best, the second-tier Destiny that nobody's going to watch because you're just watching Destiny anyways, right? So I would always tell younger players, like, one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do you make a popular stream? And of course, you need to be commentating, you need to be talking. It helps to be funny, it helps to be a character, but you shouldn't look to get attention by saying really, really outlandish bad things. Because if we are using the Destiny model, he's also in a position where he's alienated from a lot of leagues and companies and teams because of what kind of character he is. And he's still able to pay the bills because he has success as a character, but it's just it's a far more volatile and difficult path to go that he's just naturally going down because of who he is. He didn't set out and be like, I'm going to create this character called Destiny. So I would always tell a player, like, be yourself. But if you err on the side of respectful confidence, you're probably going to come off better. You know what I mean? Like, it's a huge.
I agree. I mean, I think you've got a great point, and I don't want that to sort of get lost in this. Is that?
Yeah.
And you said it really well. A lot of times people say to me, my goal is to be like DJ Wheat, and I said, well, I understand what you're saying, I understand what you mean, but that's not going to happen, right? There's such a, or I like when, Destiny does these things, or Geoff, you do these things,
Sure.
And those are all good things to learn from, but I think you're really hitting it about that be yourself. I think gamers as a whole are really good at seeing through bullshit. Like, we know when someone's trying, and we can just see it. Like, I mean, I'm always really straightforward, and I get the hate or love as appropriate, but at least it's me. Like, I don't think, thankfully, I've ever been called full of shit, or, they may not agree with my opinion, they may dislike it, they may hate me, but they'll never think that I'm just trying to play something, or, trying to always just looking to, do that or copy that. which
Right.
I'm thankful for. And I think that's really important for a lot of players, is to understand that their own personality is what we're looking for. And I don't know about you, but when I look at up-and-coming streamers, I really do look for something unique, right? If it's too close to Destiny, if it's too close to Geoff, my kind of opinion is, well, I get what side you are on, whether you're going to go more positive community or more negative, whatever, I get that part. But then I'm also looking for what makes you different and unique. Would you say that's fair? Would you say that when you're looking at other people as they ask you for advice, you look for the same thing?
Absolutely. I mean, there are certainly things to borrow. I think a webcam is essential. I really do think commentating is essential. I think interacting with your fans is essential. And then I also think that getting away a little bit from the character side that you were discussing, I think there's also a work ethic that needs to be discussed. Like, a lot of people are very shy or defeatist about using a Twitter or using a YouTube. They're like, well, I only have 100 followers, so why would I tweet it? Nobody really cares. Well, everyone started out somewhere. I was around when Stefano created his Twitter account, and he had like 3,000 in 2 minutes, but that's freaking Stefano. For the rest of us, you just got to get out there and put some work in. And success in the StarCraft world, but probably even the gaming world at large, it's not going to happen in a matter of moments. It takes a lot of work and some luck. So I think people are cutting themselves short when they don't do the little extra things. Like, they don't want to talk when they play. They don't want to tweet it. They don't want to reach out to someone at an MLG, or even just Skyping someone from an MLG or whatever, just a major tournament, and saying, hey, do you mind doing a spotlight on my stream? The worst thing they could hear is a no, or the guy ignores them. But the best thing they could hear is the guy goes, you know what, that's a great idea, and I like your initiative, I'll do it. I get PMs, emails all the time from people asking me to do stuff, and I tell most of them no. But the few people I say yes to, it's because they went out and tried. They're trying something. And I think a lot of times in the gaming world, that's something that really eludes people. Like, it's they look at a Destiny and they go, gosh, he has a really cool opinion about the N-word. Maybe if I was more like that, I'd have success. Nope. There's more to it than just that. Destiny has so much more going for him than just the fact that he gets a few Reddit threads about how counterculture he is about some words. There's so much more that people could do that they simply don't, because they just kind of count themselves out.
Well said. Very well said. Kurt, you've been a little quiet. It's unlike you. I'm sure you got some questions for Geoff. Please, take the floor, my man.
Hey, man, I'm listening. He's a coach over here. I'm telling you. But Geoff, I want to talk. This show is really. We want to try to do a little wrap up of Anaheim, and I want to go back to that just a little bit. I want to hear your opinions directly on some of the games, because, like you said, you didn't have your best performance yet, but you put up some good games against people. What could you give me a little bit of background on some of the games that you played, and maybe what happened during them and all that stuff?
Well, it's interesting. This is a great show for this. I lost to someone from Check6 and from vVv, so I get to talk about both of those. Superior Wolf is a guy who is definitely on the rise. He's becoming a much better player, or Suppy, as his name has been shortened down to. I had him first round of MLG, and I was I guess actually to talk about this more clearly, I'd have to go back to my first match. So I played WCS first immediately, and I played against Caliber, and it was a PvP, and I already knew that PvP was my worst matchup. I was pretty concerned about that. But then more specifically, Caliber is a guy who is a very dangerous Protoss in the sense that he could do absolutely anything. There could have been proxy gates. There could have been I'm not attacking you ever. Either one of those styles, and everything between is possible with him. The first game could not have gone worse. It was a very standard PvP. I think it was if it was Daybreak, yep. And everything was going fine. I ended up having my expansion faster. I was teching to Colossus faster. My army was larger. I had more probes. I was feeling very good, and I was like, wow, what a great way to start off the game. One of my observers, my only observer as it were, gets picked off, and then a matter of moments later, a Warp Prism drops off 4 DTs in my base, and it kills the Robo. And it was one of those weird feelings I had where you're dead, but you don't know it yet for like 5 minutes. Like, it takes another 5 minutes for you to figure out what's going on. And my army that's like twice as large as his is running around the map getting killed by these invisible ninjas the whole time, and I'm like, did this just really happen? Did I just lose this game? To be honest, the DT thing is usually what I do to other people, so it's this weird kind of, oh, this really sucks. I can see why people get mad at me sometimes. So that was a really bad first match, but I'm a tournament veteran, so I didn't get too riled. But in the second game, I just wasn't playing up to snuff, and I lost. And I remember just thinking, wow, this, like, you go into a tournament super ready and confident. At least I was, and that's the hope for everyone. But when you get your boat rocked so hard that first game, and because WCS and MLG were running simultaneously, there was no real downtime. You're just kind of getting up and sitting down at the next match over and over again. And oftentimes they were announcing your next match during the game you were playing, which was kind of nerve-wracking. So that's not my excuse. Like I definitely sat down and still felt like I was playing, or I could have played my best, but I just didn't. And then it kind of brought me to my last match in WCS against Ruff. And Ruff is such a scary opponent for me because we actually play quite often on the ladder, and he would tell you the same thing. I can't
imagine getting Caliber and then Ruff.
Well, there was some guys in between. I played a few others, but Ruff was the final match, as it would end up being. And he would tell you this too. I have a very, very, very large winning percentage against him. But it's not. I'm not confident against him. It just ends up being that way. Our styles kind of clash that way. But he's a different player. He plays a different brand of Starcraft II, and that's kind of his take on the thing, and it works for him. He's beaten a lot of good players and done well for himself. But the games just simply got weird and weirder in the 2 games we played, and it just kind of hit me that this All-American tournament where I had high expectations for myself and high hopes had come to an end short of any success at all. Like top 16, at least you get to tell yourself you're going to another tournament. In this position, I was telling myself I fell completely short of even that. So it was devastating, and it really, really hurt. And then I had to get up and go play Suppy almost immediately after that. And Suppy is like I was starting to say, I guess, is a very good player. He had an amazing MLG run, and he beat a lot of great Protoss players. So that ended up actually helping me feel a little bit better about myself later. Counting myself on that list of Protoss players that died is a little bit easier to take. But the worst part about that series was Game 1 went as expected, and I rolled him over. Game 2, he went mutas, and it was kind of a weird game, and he won. And then Game 3 on Cloud Kingdom, it went very well for me again, and I'm kind of having my way with him. I'm up a base, my army's larger, I've got perfect information on what he's doing, everything's great. And then that stupid voice that Protoss players have in their head sometimes said, you know what, you should probably start going carriers right about now. And I was like, okay, I'll start making carriers. So I get like 3 or 4 carriers. That doesn't do anything, man. Carriers suck.
Geoff, you did this. I remember you talking about this last MLG. How you did the same.
I know.
Thing.
Yep.
You know what's good though, Geoff? I was just thinking about how fantastic it is to hear you talk about what one thinks in one's head when you're making those build decisions,
Yeah.
you know? And then like, wow, and I think for a lot of players, it's really easy for an audience member to grade someone. But when you're actually doing it, when you look back, you're like, yeah, I sure did, didn't I? You know?
Yep. I had a weird feeling even at the time. It was just kind of like I don't even know how to explain it. It was just kind of like, I guess you're doing this, but it was like an awkward, confused, why are you doing this while I'm doing it? But then I make a mistake that shows that my head was not in the right place. And when a mothership pops out, it cloaks your units, great. But at 100 energy, it has the vortex, which is really the only reason we make a mothership. The cloaking is just kind of a nice side effect of that spell. But my mothership pops out, and I basically grab it. I'm like, come on, go to the front lines. I need you right now. We got to get you up here right now. And I go out, have a big fight, and die. And I remember at the time that the big fight was happening and I was dying, I still felt confident, but then I flipped back and my 4th base is dying to Zerglings. And I had that feeling where you're like at the airport and you're about to hand them your ID, but you realize you don't have your ticket. And I was like, oh my God, I'm losing. And it all went downhill from there. A little while later, he won. And it was that's like where my mind blanks. That's where it kind of just stopped. I would later go on to lose to Poke Bunny as well, another good player, but somebody who I should beat in a competition like that. And it really hurt. It just sucked. And it was mostly hurt and sucked because of my expectations going into it. I didn't take days off. I didn't have a broken computer. I didn't go into this tired, or I don't have a family member in the hospital. There's no excuse. I went into it in perfect shape and condition. I train really well. I have great results. I'm playing better than I ever have. And I had one of the worst tournaments ever. So it was kind of it was definitely an eye-opening thing that's going to humble me in future competitions. Like I need to remember this tournament, not so that there's a monkey on my back, but rather so that I know that even the best laid plans, you can still fall dramatically short.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Geoff, you're one of those guys that, excuse me for saying, but you kind of wear your heart on your sleeve with this stuff too.
Yeah.
Like you're completely open with, hey, that fucking hurt, that that loss. Like you're not, a bunch of other players aren't like that. It's more like, it's a loss, I'll get over it. It's no big deal. You're like, fuck that, it hurts, and I'm gonna keep on going. So let me ask you a question. How do you? And this is my last question, and I'm gonna pass it over to Jerry or Jason. But how do you keep on doing that? Like, how do you, like, I'm one of those people, man, where I tend to have my spirit broken a little bit. And you seem like you never have your spirit broken. It's always about, like, moving on to the next step and performing better next.
That's an amazing question. It's actually a really fortuitous one because there's a couple of things that happened that I thought were really interesting. For one of the first times, I was really aware of how lucky I am to have the fans that I do and the attention and love that I do. Because when I lost that final match to Poke Bunny and also the night before when I lost to Ruff, I felt just devastated. I felt just completely vacant, just like sucked dry of everything that matters. And the moment I kind of stepped outside the player area, I was patted on the back. I was thanked over and over again for my contributions. Like people went out of their way to say that super awkward and for them probably really humbling thing. I mean, how humbling is it to say, hey, I'm a fan of you. Like, I appreciate you. It's like, it's in a weird way. It's like putting that person above yourself in that little moment in time. And a lot of people continuously did that. And it just kind of, I was able to like all that bad feeling, all that emptiness kind of immediately went away. And I was able to occupy myself with, like, this person came all the way over here to say this really nice thing to me. They deserve my attention, and not like a shrug or like a vacant stare. They deserve my energy. They deserve my appreciation. So for the next couple hours after both my losses, I spent my time signing autographs or giving hugs or conversing with people that I've never met before in my life. And that helped me get over it really, really quick. It's not to say that I didn't care about the losses. It's not to say that they don't matter. But what I kind of was able to do was cleanse myself and wash myself in the positivity and the excitement and the energy of these other people that really matter to me. Because if you don't have fans, if you don't have people that care, then this is a very alone industry. It's a very tough place to be in. So that was really cool. I guess I probably should have led with what I'm about to describe because this is a little bit on the flip side. But to your point, for one of the first times ever when I lost, one of the most immediate thoughts I had was, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Like, maybe I'm supposed to be a commentator. I'm supposed to be a personality and not a player. And that's something that people have always asked me if I've ever thought about, and I never have. But to be honest with you, like, gaming is I say gaming, but really it's StarCraft. Like, I love video games, but StarCraft is my passion. That's what I'm going to be doing. And it's not just like a cliche that I say. It's actually extremely important to me that I'm contributing. Like, I don't ever want to be dead weight. I don't ever want to be a detractor from this industry growing, because it's done so much for me. Like, I'm living in this house with my fiance, with a dog that I paid for, with StarCraft, and I sit in front of a large screen TV and I travel around the world playing the game that I love. Like, this is absolutely one of the best lives you could ever imagine. So if I can create a better world where this is happening to more people because there's more legitimacy here, then I can hang my hat up on that. Like, if I can be a part of the people that have grown this so that other people can enjoy their dream and their passion, maybe I'm not curing cancer and maybe I'm not fixing a third world country, but I feel like I'm improving the livelihood of people. So that's something that's really important to me. So that voice kind of came in and I contemplated and I thought about it. And it's still something I'm thinking about. I don't think I'll never quit StarCraft, but what capacity I'll be in it is something I'll have to constantly evaluate, because I always want to be contributing as much as I can.
Geoff, I want to go back to two things that you said that I think could really be tied together. And you had first said something, and I tend to, because primarily I always deal with players that are developing and trying to get better and go bigger, and they have that choice. What kind of personality do I want to be, or who do I want to mimic? And when you're developing, when you're coming up through the ranks, I think what you just said really highlights what is important, and that is, being a Destiny is rare. There already is one, and the one thing that you need when you're developing into a pro player is one, be very prepared to lose a lot. It's part of the experience. And two, being a nice person, a supportive person, does mean that when you lose, your fans are going to reflect your attitude back at you. And I think what you give in those moments when the chips are down is what you get back. That your fans tend to know that you were there for them, or you entertained them, or you made their lives better, you helped them get better. And I think it's just sort of human nature for them to come and reflect that back on you. That's one of the reasons I try to encourage players that are upcoming. Because again, there's exceptions, but for most of them, I think they'll have more success if they focus on the positive, so that they build that fan base. Because I don't think we can stress it enough, but I'm going to let you stress it enough, how important they are, just like your team and the people who support you are when the chips are down. It's really easy for everybody to be happy when you're winning. But when you lose, and who takes the time out to make tough decisions and get into your head and do those things, I think those are and as well as support you or give you space or whatever it may be, I think those are the big things. Is that your experience as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been actually making a more concerted effort to make sure that people know that, not just so that my fans hear it from my face, but also so that hopefully it kind of creates that aura or that understanding for the community at large, because you are so dead on correct. What kind of person, I kind of always use Idra as an example. I'm around the guy all the time. I know him really well. And he actually, you talked about me wearing my heart on my sleeve. He actually does the same thing. It's just he's so ruled by competition that a lot of people only focus on how mad he gets when he loses. But that's kind of, you can actually see that in his fan base too. I think he has, in my opinion, the number one or number two largest and most verbose fan bases in all of Starcraft II, at least. I'm not going to speak to gaming, but when he's doing really, really well, there's a lot of people there supporting him, and when he's doing really, really he's having a tougher time, there's a lot of people that take a sick pleasure in actually kind of trying to hurt him or get that angry response from him as well. That's no criticism to Greg, because Greg's going to be who he is. That's just fine. But I think, to your point, your audience will reflect kind of what they think they see in you, whether that's correct or not. And actually, you can even look at me as an example too. I'm one of the more vocal people in the community, so a lot of times I've been very critical of things like Reddit or what people say or do. So a lot of times when the chips are down for me, there's actually a lot of people that are pretty quick to bring those things up and throw them back in my face too, to try to get me to respond to them. So I think this is a very verbose way of saying, to your point, if people want to try to mimic some of these superstars, but do so at in a controversial, angry fashion, they need to know that they're probably going to get what they dish to, or nothing at all, actually, which is more likely.
All right. I think right now would be a really good time for us to take a quick break, because I actually want to bring in one other guest. We were going to bring in xSix's Suppy, one of the players that you had just mentioned before, because he actually was the highest placing American at the MLG Spring Championship in Anaheim this past weekend. And then I really want to talk a little bit about something that you posted on Reddit as well recently, if that's cool with you. So stay tuned, everyone. We're going to take a real quick break and be right back in just a few short minutes as soon as we can get Suppy on. Be right back. And we are back with the losers bracket. We do have an additional guest joining us at this point. Not only do we have EGiNcontroL with us, we also have Suppy joining us as well from xSixGaming. Suppy, how are you doing today, my friend?
Not bad.
Oh,
you guys?
You better be doing good. I was going to say, after your performance at MLG Anaheim, highest placing American, congratulations on that, my friend.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Look at him. He's so shy, Kurt. What is this? Introduce us to your player, Kurt. Introduce us to your player.
Suppy, introduce yourself. Speak for yourself, buddy.
There you go. Even better.
All right. I'm Suppy, Conan Liu. My ID on Team Liquid is Superior Wolf, and I'm a student at UC Berkeley, and I play for xSixGaming. So.
Hey, very good. All right. I'm actually going to change your name tag a little bit there, because it's covering some of your pretty little face there. All right. So, Tell us a little bit about your Anaheim experience. Tell us about the bracket. Exactly where did you place, and who were some of the people you matched up against?
Well, for WCS, I ended up getting just barely top 16, I think, with beating Theognis, but I ended up losing to Quantic Illusion. So, yeah, that was nice because that means I will be able to go to MLG Raleigh, hopefully. And then I know you guys already talked about this a little bit earlier because I was watching. But yeah, first round I got EGiNcontroL, and it was pretty scary because first game I was down, and I got destroyed pretty badly that game. I was just trying to base trade, but that was my only hope. But that was pretty scary. But I ended up winning, which was really nice. And I definitely felt pretty confident with my CVP heading into this tournament. So I played Tails next. Then DDE before finally falling to Select. And then after that, I played Sasquatch, and then I beat Killer, Bling, and then Select in an extended series. But then I finally lost to EG's Thorzane. So
awesome, yeah.
Well, sorry. You want? Suppy, we're going to talk about a little bit about that afterwards, but we do want to get. Directly, we're going to bring we have Geoff on because Geoff is busy. He's going to go stream here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the Reddit thread that Geoff made, which is basically his take on some of the MLG player area situation. For those that don't know, there was a Reddit thread made by a player named Smile, who was at MLG Anaheim, who talked a little bit about his experience in the player area and how he felt like it was a little biased for him as a unknown player, as he was asked to be removed from the player area after he had lost his match, whereas he felt that some of the other players and some of the more known players and the Korean players weren't. So he was pretty upset about that. And Geoff, as well as a lot of other people, made various comments, and Geoff also made a thread explaining what he thought about it, some of the other things with Anaheim and stuff like that. You can find that on Reddit. It's one of the, I think it's still on the front page. It's called My Take on the MLG player area situation. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Geoff, for those that didn't read it, could you just give us a quick rundown of some of your opinions of what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a quick rundown of it would be basically the player area does have limited space, and with 256 potential competitors, but I guess in this case it was 144. You do have to monitor how many people are kind of standing around and occupying that space, especially if there's extra people like a manager or a media person or something like that. So for that reason, MLG generally adheres to the policy where if you're not competing or you're not a pro player, meaning you have a circular badge, then you are booted out of there the second you are eliminated. Of course, this raises a lot of issues. Some of that is MLG does not actively boot out Korean players, and the reason I give in my thread is because you'd have to be one heartless mother to kick out a guy who's traveled across the planet to play in this competition just because they were eliminated. I don't think it's a true racist thing where it's like they worship Koreans and just think they're better genetically or something like that. I think it's more just geographically speaking and culturally, Koreans usually work within a realm where they're just not treated that way. You just don't do that. So they're very active and they're very interested in watching their fellow combatants play their matches, and they have a good time, and that's part of the experience for them. But for us, mostly Westerners and Europeans, we're just not treated that same way, where we're kicked out the second we're eliminated unless we have that circular badge. Other issues I brought up too, though, were for some of us, it's a big issue because we're either a captain or a coach or a close friend or just a teammate of that player, and they're playing a match that's potentially extremely important to people that pay thousands or sometimes millions of dollars. I guess that's very, very rarely, but big money anyways for sponsors. To have that player there playing that important match and representing their company and their products. So if I can do something to help that player do better, I should be there. And if the question is space, then we're asking the right question and getting the wrong answers. I guess my problem. So a lot of times people are booted out for very bad reasons that hurt competition, or it's racially charged, but more geographically. I guess I could have probably better named that. And then the last problem I had, too, is that there's some of us where if we're not inside the player area, we actually are getting asked to do things every 5 seconds. And this I treat very carefully because I don't want people to think I don't like signing autographs or I don't appreciate my fans. But the bottom line is, while I do appreciate them, I don't appreciate that responsibility to the extent that I don't have any other responsibilities. Like, I do have an interest in watching Idra play his final matches. I do have an interest in and a desire to be available to them to see what's going on. So maybe I could say, hey, did you notice this thing that you could do differently? Or, let's talk about the match and just unwind before you jump into the next game. And that's not just Idra. I'm not picking him out. That's our team. That's how a team functions, as you guys are aware, because you're all part of teams. So this was all really bad because MLG is pretty flippant about it for the most part, and they either just don't respond or ignore it, or the answer they give is extremely logistically charged. They're just like, well, there's not enough space, so it's pretty simple. You got to get the hell out. So I would fire right back at them, make more space. There's no particular reason why you haven't roped off more space, or if there is, I'm not aware of it. The viewing experience for people that watch at the actual event, if you're not on the main stage or on that second stage, it's really shitty. You're either on a computer on the inside where they can't see you at all, or you're standing along the outside crowded around a bunch of other people watching the player you want to watch or the person they're playing against from a distance, and that sucks too. So I think this needs a lot of review and revision, and that's pretty much why I made the thread.
Makes sense.
I think you bring up a lot of amazing points, and I'm glad that I'm not sure if you would have made the thread if Smile wouldn't have made the original thread. I'm not sure if you had been planning to or not, but I completely agree with it. I think that a lot of the points, and we really need to talk more about it. Suppy, before we delve more into those individual points, Suppy, I do want to hear some of your thoughts on some of the things that Geoff brought up, like. I'm not sure if I know we've had similar experiences with players having to be removed from the player area and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of the points. And I talked about this a little bit in my blog, how having teammates next to you during a match is so important, and it gives you so much more confidence and support as you're heading into your next match. And the problem is, they started kicking out all your teammates. You don't have anybody to, support you during your matches. And on the other hand, if you're playing a Korean, they still have 10 Koreans over there watching them, supporting them. So it does make it a little bit, kind of phasing to see that when the other player has so much support right next to him. And some other times, they were kicking us out even when there was plenty of room. I felt like there was plenty of room sometimes, and yet they were still kicking us out. So I don't think, sometimes it's not actually necessary for them to be kicking us out. I can understand if it's too crowded, but sometimes it did seem like it was completely unnecessary. And yeah, I definitely totally agree with Geoff's point about the spectator experience, because, I had some friends who wanted to watch me, but if I'm playing in the center or, playing far away, it's almost impossible for them to see the game at all. So they definitely should take some steps to solve that problem.
Yeah, I'd venture to say it's not even just players as well. I had a media pass while I was there, and I was actually just trying to take a couple pictures of CD Junior and Rio while they were practicing in the player area, in between the Soul Calibur and the Mortal Kombat finals. And I had a security guard walk up to me and say, "I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." And I kind of was like, "What? There's nobody even playing right now." And he said, "Talk to her." Pointed me to the front. Talked to one of the women at the desk at the front, and even this was an official MLG staff member. I'm not sure who she was exactly, but she was very cold. She responded back with, "Nope, you're not allowed in there." And I said, "Well, they're not competing." She said, "They are competing." And that kind of made me really weirded out, I guess is the way to put it. And I said, "I'm just trying to get a picture or two of my teammates." She said, "Nope. And if you go back in, well, don't say I didn't warn you." And just smiled at me. And that was kind of cold. Yeah. And she just gave a real teethy big smile. And I was just like, wow, that's kind of bitchy, actually. So
was she wearing a security jacket, or did she?
No, she was dressed nice, like one of the staff members. She was the one running the brackets on the screens. Yeah. So I don't know. It's really odd. It feels like something needs to change. But Jerry, what are your thoughts?
Would help if I could find the unmute button right there. I want to take this a little bit different about criticism, because I think a lot of Jeff's points are really valid, and he presented them in a straightforward, honest way. I have no problem with his points, and I have no problem with his delivery. But it does point to another problem that I've noticed, and let me see if you guys agree with me. I think Major League Gaming's problem is that they're now growing fast, and they don't have the time to train refs and individuals properly. I really believe that's part of their problem. It's like a human capital training problem that you get. For example, we had an incident, and I never make excuses for losing, but our League of Legends team couldn't get the Astro Mix amp to work, and it was a real challenge. They spent an hour and a half, and we eventually had to play with one of our league players unable to communicate with his team. You know, I know the show's got to go on, and you take the breaks as they come. You know, I was pretty frustrated with Astro and the technician. They came that night, and they fixed it and was better the second day. But the referee's treatment of the team until I arrived, to where, you know, and it was one of those moments where he turned to me for a brief moment, and he talked to me like I was one of the players. And you know when you lock eye contact with someone, and you hold it for a minute, and what your eyes are saying to them is like, go right the fuck ahead. Hit me. You know, that kind of look you give people sometimes? I gave him one of those looks, and I was like, so, honestly now, what are we going to do? And he just sort of froze, because I think he realized that I was not intimidated by him. And then we started working on the problem. We did get one of our players reconnected, and we just, after an hour and 10 minutes, you know, I made the call, we're just going to go. We can't do anything else. They have to finish their tournament, and we have to go through that. But again, I felt some of that Geoff had mentioned and that you mentioned, Suppy, that, you know what, you don't really have to treat players like this. I mean, they're here to give their heart out. Let's be really sensitive to that. And you know what, if you ask a lot of referees who've been around a long time, they do a pretty good job. But I think they really needed a lot more refs for this event, and I just question whether or not they had the time to train them all and train them well. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or if you think it could be something else, or, you know, I don't know about StarCraft, Geoff, and same thing with you, Suppy, as often, but I remember going back to the Halo days, 07, 08, 09, through the transition from Baumberg to Sundance. They got better and better, and I thought they did a pretty good job. I mean, we usually get treated really well, and I think EG does too, and I don't know always, but to Jeff's point, and I want to make sure that everybody understands, we're not talking about how EG and vVvGaming get treated or Check Six. We're talking about how the average person who comes without a team, who's new to the scene, are they being treated the same as EG, as all the big sponsors, which is what Jeff's point is about. And I sometimes wonder if that's a training problem or if you guys think it's something else. I'll throw it back to you guys and see your thoughts. I'll start with you, Geoff.
You know, I have an interesting opinion on this, and I know it's not necessarily the most popular one, but I actually would never. I don't think it's realistic to push for everyone to be treated the same, because I don't think that's. I mean, it's like a utopian great concept that should work, and I would like it if it did. But there's just some people that carry more weight. There's some people that have contributed more, or contributed more heavily, and they're going to be treated differently. But in the grand scheme of things, to what you're getting at, should they train more refs and should they work harder on that? Absolutely. I think everyone actually came away from the MLG, interestingly enough, with a story of something bad that happened involving an MLG staffer. I know that Huck actually got physically threatened and almost fought a ref actually at that tournament because he was sitting on the table just after a loss. And guess what? You're not supposed to sit on the table. But the ref came up and said, "Get off," and like had attitude about it. Huck was like, "Okay," and basically it got to the point where the ref was like threatening him and saying, "You know, I could boot you out of here." And Chris is a very brash individual, so it kind of escalated from there. But it's like that kind of stuff just doesn't need to happen, you know.
Nobody wins when you threaten, ever.
Yeah, I mean, MLG is a very big organization, so it's not like you can reasonably expect them to have. I mean, I guess what the point I'm trying to make is it's really hard to hold the entire company responsible for what everyone does from the ground up. But to a certain extent, MLG should at least be concerned with that at a higher level, I would say. Because this MLG in particular, I think there's a lot of stories I'm hearing about players and staffers and computers not working cohesively And rather than it being like this harmonious, oh, shoot, something went wrong, let's work on it together and get it better, it was more of a like, well, I'm so-and-so, or, I can actually do this, and I'll tell you what, if, or, your story is really gross, like, don't say I didn't warn you, and then a big smile on her face, like, ugh, that's nasty stuff. I don't want to come from MLGs and have that be in the discussion. That seems like a wasted opportunity.
We hear some amazing stories about good admins too, like I guess what is the head admin, MLG Ryan, right?
Ryan is the best head admin I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, and but the problem
head
is
admin for StarCraft, to be clear, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, for StarCraft.
Just to be clear.
There just needs to be more of him. Like, we just need to clone him, and we'll be good.
They have great people, to be honest with you. It's just, I think it was just because of the heightened element, or I don't know, just the raised expectations with Anaheim. I think everyone was on edge a little bit more. I know that Adam suffered a family loss mid-event, so he had to leave, but he was pretty stressed out about that. Sundance, obviously, that's his go time, so he's all stressed out. So, I mean, there are excuses at hand, but I don't think it's unfair for people to come away from Anaheim and say, hey, MLG, we have a really high standard for what we expect from you because you've done an amazing job, but you're kind of carrying the torch for North America as it is right now. So if there's any kind of areas where they seem to show weakness, they need to know they're going to hear about it, not because they're getting picked on, but because the expectation is that they will do better, right? And that's at the end of the day what my thread's about too. I don't write that thread for hunky-dory tournament, in Mobile, Alabama or something like that. Not to pick on that city, I guess. My point is, like, you don't have that kind of critical eye for a tournament that's doing it for the first time and they're doing it out of their own pockets or something like that, right? This is a company that's talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars and huge investments and TV deals, and they're based out of New York, et cetera, et cetera. And this is also their 12th MLG with Starcraft or something like that. So the expectation is really high for them.
I think Jason, I know we're going to throw to Jerry real quick, but I think that's a really important point to point out, is that's the big difference between your thread on Reddit and Smile's thread on Reddit. It's the reason that people would take you more seriously more than Smile is not because of the fact that you're a more popular player or a better player. It's because of the fact that the way that you worded things. You said that this is not to shit on anybody. This is to let them know that these are problems that I want to see fixed. These are things that need to be fixed. And I hope MLG doesn't take it as, like, no one's talking about the good things about Anaheim. They're just going straight to the bad things. It's, well, you got to expect that you're going to get some feedback, and I hope you appreciate it, because at least you're taking the time to do it. So,
yeah, I think too, though, that just to sort of add to that, in order for them to fix it, they need to know about it. So at a bare minimum, even if you're going to be the meanest person on the planet, you may not get a great response from MLG, and you can be a complete dick, but at least I know if someone at MLG will read it. And they're really good at drawing out what they can fix versus basic rage, hate. Although it is a lot easier to digest information if you save all the dramatic, hate and rage for the side. Try short sentences. Get more chairs, right? That works really well. League needed more chairs, right? Reminder, get water. Right?
Yeah.
We know they can't find a water sponsor, so I keep telling every entrepreneur I know, please create something called Gamma Gamer Water. No, sorry, I always pick on Gamma. But to be honest, I didn't run into enough of their ambassadors. I think they should have had more. But create Gamer Water and then market it to MLG. Maybe we should all chip in a little bit and create a dummy company so we can get our water there. Because that, I think, would help a lot of people, to be honest. But those are constructive things that I think make their ability to react to it faster. And it's real important that please get the name of the person who has done what they've done, and then write a private email to MLG is really the best way to go. Right? Adam, Sundance, they're all approachable. Get the referee's name, say, hey, I was playing StarCraft this time. This is how I would treat it. Please tell referee, Uncle Woody that I don't think it was right to be treated that way. And they're going to respond and they're going to talk to the person, because it's a lot easier to talk to one referee who's making the problem than having to pull 25 referees together and be like, one of you is an asshole. I don't know which one. So stop being an asshole, right? You have a chance that the one guy who was an asshole didn't even show up that day and he missed the message. So try to get the person who actually had the problem. Mention him to name, not on Twitter, not on Reddit. You don't need to leave this person sort of hanging to dry. Just send a private message to someone at MLG and say, hey, this was my experience with referee, Woody, and hopefully they'll be able to help you. I think, at least. I think that's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
I think also a really important point, now I'm going to pass to Suppy because I know he's got something to say too. I think a really important point too is what Geoff said about the fact that, and it's not popular, it's not going to be a popular thing to say, but there's a big difference between Geoff being outside the rope and Smile being outside the rope. He's right in the sense of the Geoff's outside the rope and he's going to get tackled by fans. He's going to get people that ask for autographs. Same for Suppy for that matter, maybe on a different level. But I mean, it's going to be, you're going to be outside the rope. You're going to get distracted. And the last thing you want to be is to be distracted when you're trying to support your teammates, which is essentially what a team is for. So, Suppy, let me pass over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about, that when they're hiring admins or refs or whatever, they should be looking for people who actually are involved in StarCraft and, are experienced with it, because I was a little bit shocked. Like, a lot of them didn't know maps. When they're pronouncing player names, it was like, instead of IS crazy moving, I kept hearing, like, is crazy moving, is Axlav. And, I feel like if they just get people who actually know about StarCraft and are more involved with it, these types of problems would be wouldn't happen as often. For example, when Huck loses, someone just got knocked out of MLG. I mean, sure, he's breaking a rule by sitting on the table, but he just got knocked out. He's not going to be, he doesn't want someone yelling at him right after he gets knocked out. So I feel like people who are more experienced in StarCraft would be a little bit more understanding in these situations.
Very true. All right. With that being said, I know we got to start wrapping up with you, Geoff, because you said you do have to go get to streaming. But before we do let you go, were there any other shout-outs that you wanted to give? Any sorts of last comments that you wanted to throw out before you headed out for the night?
Well, just thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Love what you guys are doing here. I've watched a few episodes, and I think one of the coolest and most staggering things to look at is that this is number 118 that you guys have done. So hopefully the consistency will pay off, and if it hasn't already. And thanks again for allowing me to be a part of it. Sponsorship-wise, I can't do anything without my sponsors. So, of course, Intel, Monsters, SteelSeries, King Sniper X, Sapphire, and all the other companies that have made it possible for me to talk about StarCraft and travel and do StarCraft. And if you guys get the opportunity, check out both the Gigabyte LAN this coming weekend, where Zay will be commentating. We'll have DeMuslim and Machine participating as players. And then I'll also be commentating the DreamHack LAN, where we'll have Puma, JYP, Huck, and Thorzane competing. So a lot of StarCraft coming up as well.
Awesome.
Jason, before we let Geoff go, I want to give him a personal thank you about something.
Sure.
And that's the fact that more than anyone, and I say more than anyone because I don't know of anyone else, period, anyone else that I know of that is as big a name as you and yet still is a helps the people that don't have the bigger names as much as you. There is no one else, as far as I'm concerned, that I know of that talks about and knows about the players that are slightly more unknown. I mean, I could ask you about number 176 on GM, and you would probably know who I'm talking about. And you could probably say his mother's maiden name. It's pretty amazing. I remember a Team Liquid thread specifically being made that was more. It was something entitled upcoming unknown players, and people were saying people like Vibe and DDE and stuff like that. Obvious answers. You said McKinjon. And nobody knew who the fuck you were talking about.
I'm still going to talk about that guy, man. He's good. Him and Mystic, they are crazy good.
Exactly, but you still said it, and you're doing that now on your Twitter, where I think you're doing it every week. You're taking an unfeatured streamer and sort of putting him out there on your Twitter and sort of giving him a little support. And if more players did that, it would make my job 10 times easier, and it would make players a lot more, a lot less opposed to sticking around. So,
well, thank you for that.
Thanks.
I appreciate that. And actually, that's a good reminder. Yeah, I mean, every Friday I'm going to tweet. I'm calling it Fine Friday, but it was 50 here, and then it was a velo. It was the first 2 weeks I've done it. So I'll do this one that's coming Friday. But like you said, the idea is a small bio, an introduction to the player, and then their stream. So, and one of the things I talk about too is hopefully other people will start doing this. So maybe one or two of you guys can start doing that kind of thing too. That'd be good.
Awesome.
It's a really good idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. At least retweet some of the players you're profiling, so everybody for a brief day gets to take a look at them, and then then it'll also I think get people hopefully excited. And when I think of the kind of player I hope my players want advice from, I often think of you. Is the way I can decide.
Oh, thank you.
You'd be one of the few players that if they said, who do you think would be the best player to talk to get advice on this? I'd say, you probably, both by numbers and by, respect, I'd say, it's always Geoff. And Control does a great job. That's why he is where he is. So,
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Geoff. It is fantastic as always. It's great to talk. And good luck. Safe travels to Sweden. And I'm sure we'll all be watching you at DreamHack. So you really have a great week, okay?
Thanks, guys. And you all have a good week as well.
Thanks again, Geoff. Take care.
All right, you too. See ya.
All right, so we still have Suppy with us. We're going to talk a little bit more about his experiences as well. And to be fair, I do want to talk a little bit about League of Legends as well before we end the show.
No, let's we got so much. It's already 9:30. Let's talk to Suppy. We got plenty of time.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that's what I'm saying.
People are
later
not
in the
here.
show.
You know what, Geoff's right. We've been doing this for 118 episodes. If they haven't heard us talk enough by now, I don't know what more they need. I want to hear from Suppy. That's who I want to hear from.
All right. So, well, please, if you want to hear from him, please ask him a question or two, Jerry. Hop to it, man. Come on. Oh, look at him. Now he's speechless.
Look at that. Look at that.
You have to ask me nicely.
He fell out of his chair.
No, you have to ask me nicely. No, I want to go back to something Suppy had said when we were sort of off the air, and I hope me bring this up. But as a player who's really arriving on the scene, nervousness. A lot of players feel nervous. They feel uncomfortable. A lot of the players they respect, look up to, all of a sudden you're coming close to being in their league. And I hope this question isn't hard to answer, but what is it like being nervous? When do you notice your own nervousness? And how do you get through it? How do you get over it?
Definitely right before the WCS matches, which were the first matches that we were playing. I felt really nervous because you never know how you're going to actually do until you're actually in the moment playing. And I was telling my teammates how nervous I was, and they were giving me encouragement, so that definitely helped. And one good thing about being an open bracket is even though it's really tiring playing match after match after match, you really don't have time to get nervous because you play one person. As soon as you win, you're going to the next computer to play the next guy right away. So you actually don't have time to get nervous. There were some games where I noticed I was shaking. My legs would shake, particularly versus Killer. The series was tied up 1-1, and I was really behind in the third game. My legs were shaking a lot, and that was a really, really nerve-wracking game. But some things that help deal with it are, for example, I had some friends who were from my high school. So they came out here and they came to support me. They actually made me this shirt. You can see it. It says Suppy on it. So they all wore this shirt and they all watched me, even when I was in the central computers where they couldn't really see the screen. So just knowing that I had that kind of support behind me, really helped take off the nerves. So that's why I really think fans are really important to players.
For those that don't know much about Suppy, I want everyone right now to go on YouTube and go to YouTube.
No!
Oh yeah!
Suppy's victory celebration. Oh, that was classic.
You go on YouTube. You type in WCS, and then
Suppy.
I don't know. I don't think Suppy will work. WCS and something. I don't know. Suppy
qualified for WCS.
WCS qualified or something. Find the video anyway. You'll see. Yeah, WCS qualified. That'll work. And watch that video and just know how energetic Suppy was to be able to attend this event. And
energetic is a great word.
Yeah.
That's one way you could call that.
Embarrassing.
Look, you put it on there, so I'm gonna tell people about it. But
I can actually move this into view if you want. I mean, I can do it. I could just look at this. Look at this guy. Look at the pillow flying around. There you go. That's the beauty of being able to just move windows around. Look at him dancing. He's so happy.
We had 10 players. We had 10 players at this event, and I couldn't pick a player that I wanted to do as well as Suppy. I really couldn't. I was just really excited that he did so well. So, Suppy, like you said, a lot of your games weren't casted. So I want you to explain some. You don't have to go through all of them because you played something like 30 matches, but just explain some of the best games. Maybe some that people should watch when the replays come out. Maybe give us a little brief synopsis about some of the games. I know Select especially, you were down in an extended series when you played him in the losers bracket, so I know that had to be amazing. So go ahead.
Yeah, definitely Game 3 versus Killer, where he killed my third, and I managed to come back somehow and take the game. That was an intense game. I went to Broodlord, Mothership. I think I got a Neural and a Counter Vortex in that game. I'm not totally sure, but that was definitely a pretty epic game. Me vs. Select Game 2 in our first series was also really intense. It was a really long game on Antigua Shipyard. This game was streamed, but I think it was on the premium stream, so I think a lot of people might have missed it. But it was an intense game. I was ahead the whole game, but Select totally made a game out of it, and it was really, really close. And that was definitely a very exciting game to watch. Some of the pictures of my supporters were there when they were watching the game, and they're all tensed up and hands in their mouth and everything. So that was definitely a really exciting game. And basically pretty much the entire Select series, I guess, because it was extended series, so that was pretty good. And versus Bling, I was down the first game, and then the next two games were also pretty good. So they all went to late game, I think. All went to Broodlord, Mothership, so those are all really good games to watch, I think.
Yeah, the Select extended series matches were casted. Not the extended series matches, the original ones, I think, and those are the ones that you did lose 2-1, but those games were ridiculous, man. They really were. That game too was just insane. I don't know how you pulled it out.
First and third game, he 2-racks, and I just died.
He did. He proxy 2-racks. It was rough.
But that's okay. See, that's why having teammates around you is so useful, because after those games I was pretty sad because I think I could have had to take out Golden because he sometimes has inconsistent CBZ, and if I had done that I would have been a pool play. So I mean that could have happened if I had known how to deal with 2-racks better. But afterwards I was talking to my teammates, Ver, Mystic, and a couple of our friends, and they told me how to hold off the 2-racks. And next time in the extended series, Select did 2-racks me again, and I did exactly as they told me. I pulled I pulled most of my drones when the Zerglings popped, and I killed the 2-racks, and that helped me win the game. So, having teammates there in the pit with you, giving you advice after matches, it's just so crucial for a player. So having them kicked out is definitely not the greatest thing.
To me, Jerry, this is the point, and xSix by any means is not the only team that has this. I know VV has it, I know EG has it. Every team should have it, a proper team. To me, this is a prime example of what we need to showcase in order to take this to the next level.
Yeah.
We need this entire story in order for people to really get into it. The fact that everyone's together and everyone's helping each other, and here's what to do, and here's how to do it, and here's why they're helping each other. These are all important things that I think we're completely missing right now. Completely.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think also that I always feel that, being a player is a lot. When you're competitive and you have faith in yourself and you keep trying, your ego can become pretty immune. You can get pretty much wrapped up in yourself. And this is very much so for a game like StarCraft because your teammates aren't in game, right? Your teammates are actually what happens when you're practicing. They happen before the game and in between matches. And that's different from team sports, obviously. And what is missed often, and what I think, when Adam Clapp, Mr. MLG Adam, said, what do you guys think of a sort of a team league? Anything that can bring the kind of elements together that will help players understand that, it is really helpful to have that team. And, since we're talking that happens, I often wonder why a lot of those online coaches don't come to LAN events to continue to help out with their players. Like, I think if you want to be a great coach, the next big step for StarCraft coaches, don't, just do regular online sessions, but the one or two coaches who have the means to actually get to an event and be there with their player, I think that would add so much to coaching and the professional aspect of what we do, because those are the kind of coaches that are there at the LAN event. Because in a lot of ways, what Suppy's discussing is that his teams are kind of coaching him, right? They're giving him, when you're in the emotion of the game, you've got tunnel vision, and your friends, your teammates, they're looking at the game much broader. They know what you don't know, and you know what your decisions were, but they can really help you think through. Probably at the minimum, they're going to help you understand that you had other options should you need to take them in the future, which I think is Suppy's point. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Maybe seeing some of those coaches that are online actually go with their players to LAN events and do something like that?
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I think we see it to an extent now. I mean, you have the coach for Team Infinity 7, ThunderToss. He attends pretty much every event and is there to support his guys. Fuji, our coach, had also our creative director. Our SC2 manager. He holds many titles. He's at every event. As far as he's been to most every event, and he's we've learned that he's really an asset to the team. I think Suppy would agree. So and I know Jerry, you guys have the same thing. So I mean, it's very. I think with teams, it's a lot easier. I wish we could see a little bit more for players that aren't on teams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of players that aren't on teams, they go and they get coaching, right? And while they get that coaching, right, as they're doing that,
but a lot of times, the people that actually sell coaching are players, and that's it. We don't have, as far as I know, any real coaches that aren't players. So I mean, people like EGiNcontroL. EGiNcontroL is one of the most popular coaches in Starcraft II, and he's constantly stays busy with coaching. He goes to play. Destro is a popular coach. He went to Anaheim to play. There's a lot of real popular coaches that also play as well. So that is a problem. But I do think that people would benefit if we could have coaches that weren't players. They maybe have been players in the past and that aren't players anymore, kind of thing. I just think it's something that we could really benefit from. Sort of once again, I think it all comes down to the story factor. It's like I've said many times before, I watch some of the dumbest shit on TV just because I like the story, and if we had more of the story factor, then we would really be, I think we could really take it to the next level with all this. So
I'm interested in what sort of Suppy has coming up next. So obviously we all have MLG Raleigh coming at the end of August. Between now and then, and for those who may not know, are you going to other LAN events? Is it all practice for Raleigh? Where can people find you between now and then?
So right now I'm not totally sure what events I might be doing right now. Considering one LAN event, but I'm not too sure if that's going to happen. Because my I'm taking summer classes at Berkeley, which actually begin next Monday. So I will be a little bit more busy. Hopefully I'll still be able to train. But once I'm back in Berkeley, I'm definitely going to start streaming. I just can't stream from home because my upload is too slow. But I'm definitely going to start streaming. And also perhaps organizing my own events. I don't know if you guys know, but I organize LANs. I've been organizing my LANs since 10th grade in high school or whatever. So I might do one of those this summer.
Suppy, let's talk about that. I want to hear about that. What LANs do you do?
So basically, when I was 10th grade summer of high school, I went to do an internship at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda. And, I just made a Team Liquid thread. I was like, is there any interest for a LAN? I think it'd be fun. And a lot of people posted it. They said they'd totally be down. So that was my first LAN ever. I got everything. I called the center, and we got the first LAN ever over there going. And that was really, really fun. So I decided, I'm going to keep organizing LANs. It's really cool. You get to meet a lot of people. And it's just great, hanging out with other StarCraft friends. When usually you just, it's been traditionally like some kind of online thing where you don't really see people as much. So the LANs are a really, really fun thing that I like to do. And yeah, I've organized about 11 LANs now. So it's something I plan to continue doing too.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I've run events myself in the past, and I know how fun it is. So that's really cool. Thank you for doing that for us, Suppy. You said Berkeley before. I'm really curious. What do you play? That's a very well-known school for music. So what is it that you're studying? What are you looking to do?
Actually, it's not the Berkeley School of Music.
Oh, my mistake.
UC,
my mistake.
Yeah,
Okay,
UC Berkeley.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Even still, what are
you taking?
Exactly. Same.
So right now I'm taking, general pre-med requirements. So I know it's kind of tough.
So just so we're clear, hold on. Just so we're clear, and I knew this before, but I'm dramatizing it just to make sure people understand that you're playing StarCraft, you're doing really well in tournaments, you're streaming, and you're a pre-med student.
And he's running events.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't declared a major yet, but that's
That's awesome.
Jerry, what the hell? What the hell's with these kids, man?
I'm thinking some of Jerry's multitasking capability is rubbing off.
No,
Suppy over here.
it's just me being funny as always.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think one of the things that I'm always interested in is the sort of journey that players take outside of their actual play, right? So you have some players who cast, some who do this, and for Suppy, obviously, there's a tournament organizer capacity, right? So you're building your brand in more than one way, and you're networking in a different way. So, and maybe we should touch a little bit on that. What kind of networking do you do, Suppy, when you're not a player, but you're a tournament organizer?
I mean, this is one problem that I've had. I don't know. We talked about this before we went live, but I'm very nervous when it comes to talking to famous people. So I know at last MLG Anaheim, I saw all these like stars, but I was just blown away, and I didn't talk to anybody. So, in terms of networking and getting sponsors for things, I'm not the best. Usually our LANs are just for fun. We don't have sponsors and stuff. It's definitely something I want to do and hope that eventually we can get some prizes going, some sponsors for the LANs. But I do need to work on my networking skills, I'd have to say.
Well, to be fair now, though, Suppy, you say all these famous people, like, what is this? You're big deals now. Look at you. You just were the highest placing American. Stop putting yourself down there, man. You're perfectly fine. So I think that will come in time, and to be fair, you are one of those people now. So keep it up, because that's awesome. It's really cool what you're doing out there, man. Oh, just the head nod. I like that.
Well, one of my last questions, Suppy, is about some of the WCS and MLG open bracket thoughts. Idra recently, and by recently I mean like an hour ago or less, I'm just on top of my game, so I already know about it. He put out an article on the EG site where he's talking about his thoughts on MLG and WCS, and he really sort of tore it apart, and how crazy together it was, and how they didn't have their shit together, and things like that. Would you agree with that, or do you think that because of the fact he hasn't done the open bracket before, he just doesn't maybe understand it? Let me rephrase that. Hasn't done the open bracket lately. Excuse me.
I mean, I didn't read the article yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out afterwards. And I'm maybe not the most experienced person because this is just my second MLG, but I mean, I thought it was doable. I mean, I'd heard how hard it was in the past, so I was coming into it expecting to play lots of games on top of at WCS. But I do think it was bearable. The one thing that was just really difficult was I had matches 1 a.m. and then we had to wake up at like 9 a.m. for our next day, and the matches were like starting at 1 a.m. Idra actually asked me if I beat Illusion, if we could play our next match at 9 a.m. instead of playing at like 2 a.m. and then still having to wake up really early in the morning. So, I mean, it definitely was really taxing on the competitors. But I also thought, having WCS there gave so many more opportunities for players to shine. And, they brought so many players over. So I think it definitely was difficult, but WCS also had a lot of benefits that probably outweigh the costs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, Suppy, thank you a lot for your time, buddy. I'm glad we could get you on. We wanted to get you on before MLG, but you're just so busy, so I'm really glad you came on. Any shout-outs? Be sure to remind people about your blog thread, that you recently put up as well. So, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I talked about my MLG experience and addressed some of these issues that we talked about on the show today. It's a featured blog on TL right now, so you can go check that out. And then just shout out to Check6 Gaming for supporting me and everybody on our team, and our sponsor TTE Sports, as well as Gamer Uniform and Pure Track. And also shout out to the CSL, who recently gave me a scholarship for Starcraft. So I was very, very happy to receive that. So shout out to them as well.
That's too cool. Suppy, thank you so much for taking some time out to join us tonight. We'll definitely need to get you back on in the future, my man. Good luck, and hopefully I'll actually get to meet you in Raleigh a little bit later this year.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Take care. Have a good night, Suppy.
You too.
Thanks so much, Suppy. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. Before I know we're going to cover League of Legends, and we need to cover fighting games real quick. I know we're going to take a quick break before we skip over StarCraft. I want to say really quickly, this is not a results show, so we don't tend to talk about the results very much. But of course, as many people know, Don Regu won. Also, Sase played absolutely amazing. For those that weren't able to watch it, Sase placed fourth. He's of course with Quantic Gaming. I do suggest checking some of those replays and games out when they come out, as well as check out. I forgot. Alicia as well. Excuse me. It took me a minute. So yeah. Anyway, let's cut the break.
Yep. One quick left. That's easy for me to say, right? One quick break. We'll be right back to wrap things up for the episode. Be right back. All right, and to finish up the losers bracket this week, definitely want to cover the last couple of games. I know we did a lot of StarCraft discussion, had iNcontroL, had Suppy on, but I definitely want to touch on some of the other games as well, fighting games and League of Legends. Before we head on over to fighting games, talk about some of the results there, let's start with League of Legends, because there is some things to talk about there. I do want to say, though, Kurt, who did you predict to win? Last week?
I predicted SK.
How did they do?
Not fantastic.
And who did I predict to win, Kurt?
Ginger SM. I think was the name of the team.
I think that you're just glossing over the fact that my prediction won the tournament. Just saying. Oh, huge shout out to TSM though. They did really, really well. Taking there was only one game that they dropped the entire event until the finals with CLG. Absolutely phenomenal event, and I gotta admit, the crowd was stoked. Worth bringing that up. There was huge TSM chants coming up from the crowd, and I know we already said it earlier in the episode, but man, we have got to get some more chairs for League of Legends, possibly a bigger part of the arena. From home, Kurt, because this is what I'm interested in.
Hot tiers going?
So, listen to Jerry talking in the background. Listen to him.
Jerry's like, I love how Jerry's not paying attention at all.
I am. I need
like,
hot tea. You guys don't understand. I'm listening to you guys talk about your damn who did you win. We all know who got this right. Right? Anybody could have guessed it. That's why I went with vVvGaming. I was the only one taking a risk.
Add some more salt to that there, Jerry. Some more salt.
But here's the thing I want to know. Kurt, I got to see it from the venue. I saw how amazing it looked. What did it look like from home?
I would say it looked amazing from home. I think they did a really good job on production for that. I think in my opinion, the production surrounding League of Legends was better than StarCraft. And the reason I say that is not because of anything that MLG did. It's just because of the way that a team game works. That's all it is. The only reason I say that is because of the way a team game works. And what I mean by that is the way the booths were, they were heavily lighted. So you saw all 5 players. They had a great camera that would actually come in on the players. That was not sort of a webcam the way the StarCraft was set up. It was more of an overall cam. It looked really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Also, they in the picks and ban screen, which is normally the most boring part about a League of Legends stream, they actually put the commentators in the sort of ban box, as it were, the big box sort of in the middle, where the player selection box. Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if people have done that before. I don't know. I don't follow that many streams, but either way, it looked really great. Corey Dunn, I think, was the producer over there for the League of Legends stream. I think he did an amazing job despite knowing shit about the game. I'm sure he's a traditional FPS guy, Counter-Strike. So yeah, I mean, I think it was really good.
Yeah, I have to admit that is the best change I saw in League of Legends streaming. I noticed it first game, as soon as the League of Legends stream started up, the commentators in the box where the champions would normally display. What a great idea, because it humanized the players when they were showing the people. And they actually had a cameraman outside the booth moving the camera back and forth. That's how they were getting those amazing pictures of the players. And it seemed to make the picks and bans process that much more interesting. So kudos to MLG for doing that. And just wonderful, wonderful job with the event. I really, really liked it. I wish there was a little bit more with the celebration afterwards. It just kind of seemed like TSM won, the end afterwards. Like, I really wish there was a little bit more excitement.
It was also incredibly late. Dear God, was it late. I mean, it was like 5 a.m. before it was over. It was, on East Coast at least, it was rough because of the fact that it did go into the second series. It was extended series, so it did go into the second series. So, I mean, it was rough. And I was able to watch most of it. I did cut some of it off so I could go watch the Sunday Night Barcraft event on One More Game. But I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I agree. I think they all need to put a little bit more into the celebration, sort of the afterwards of it anyway. So.
Read a great thread on Reddit earlier today that said all we need is just some confetti shooting out after the champions. Well, there's a couple more things like thrust stage, things like that. But man, I like the idea. It's good. It would definitely add to the atmosphere. Before we head on over to fighting games, though, Jerry, give your thoughts. League of Legends. What did MLG do right? Anything they could improve on?
Well, obviously Astro. Get Nick Samps at work consistently. I was just excited to meet our League of Legends team. I think League of Legends is hugely important. I think it's the most important eSport title out there. Not the biggest. I think StarCraft is, but StarCraft is here. Heart of the Swarm is coming out. It is what it is. I think League of Legends is still in its infancy. I think we've got, I know Dota's out there. I know other things, but man, do I have a lot of faith in Riot. They do a lot of things right in that game. The more I learn about the meta in that game, the more I love it. It's fantastic. So I'm a big fan. That's all I want to say. I have nothing but good things to say, so I get bored when it's all good. I need to be fueled by my hate. I'll tell you one thing I hate. I have an announcement that we have to make that Rio is going to retire from competitive gaming after this event.
What?
Yeah, Rio doesn't have the same feeling for Mortal Kombat today. And I think he's gotten a little disgusted with some things inside the fighting game community. So he asked if we'd let him go, and we kind of hemmed and hawed about it. But when you have a player of Rio's caliber who, obviously he did poorly at the event, but, I know what it's like when somebody gets in that. So we're gonna give him that freedom to get back where he is and leave the light on. So that's kind of...
Well, since we're basically done with League of Legends, I think, right, Jason, let's go ahead and go to Fighter, and let's talk about this a little bit.
That kind of blows my mind a little bit. I mean, Rio did slip a little at the event, but it makes sense because I talked to him quite a bit. I mean, you could see the passion wasn't there in him, and I thought maybe it was just a rough event for him. Maybe something was off, but now hearing that, it makes a lot more sense. So, you know what? Shout out to Rio, and also a big shout out to CD Jr. Rio's always represented us really well, so thank you to him, and of course, best of luck to him in his future endeavors. While we're on the subject of fighting games, definitely want to give another big shout out over to our representatives at the event, taking top 4 spots in all 3 titles. Romance taking 3rd again. Our own vVvRTD in Soul Calibur 5 taking 4th place, and CD Jr. taking 4th as well. I do want to share something really cool. I took a really great picture of CD Jr. right after he knocked out one of his final opponents at the event, a guy named Tyrant. And just to show the sportsmanship of what kind of caliber CD Jr. is, what kind of player he is, he actually stood up and raised Tyrant's arm, just kind of like to say, hey, give it up for this guy. And actually was able to catch that moment really well on camera. And sorry, the picture is a little bit blurry since I just brought it in, but what a great sportsman he is, and just kudos to him for showing that. Kurt, your opinion on the fighting games from home, my man?
I watched quite a bit of it. I can never get into King of Fighters, and I feel like Juicebox is going to kill me for that. But I could never, for some reason, I tried my best. I tried to get into King of Fighters. I couldn't do it. But Soul Calibur I watched a lot, and Mortal Kombat I watched even more. I think they did a really, really good job. I think all of the commentators were really, really good. I really do. I can't say anything bad about any of the commentators. Now, of course, I'm not a fighting game connoisseur by any means, but they were all pretty good about getting the hype, quote unquote. And they all really had knowledge of their respective game. I don't know the guy's name. I'm sorry. It was hard to really understand everyone's names because I would come in the middle of it. But the guy that was a little bit of a bigger guy and he had curly hair, but sometimes he had it up. That he constantly commentated with Juicebox. I forgot his name, but anyway, he was really, really great at
Are you talking about the guy for Soul Calibur?
I think it was Soul Calibur, yeah.
Bibulus? Is that who you're talking about?
Maybe. I don't know.
But are you talking about the commentator?
Yeah, the commentator.
Yeah, it's got to be Bibulus. That's the who always does Soul Calibur 5.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really good anyway. He just knew the game incredibly well. And you could tell it. You could tell that Juicebox didn't know all of the games that well, which is why they had someone in there with him kind of thing that was just sort of adding to it. It was really, really great. I like the fact that one thing I liked a lot, I mean, I was so impressed by this, is that towards the end of the event, the players got the fuck up out of the chairs, or the fans got the fuck up out of the chairs, and they got closer to the stage. Including you, Jason. I saw you at the end there. We're just like, fuck a chair. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to get on, basically right beside the stage. And a lot of people did that. And I think MLG needs to take a cue from that and then let people know that they don't have to sit in those chairs. Like, the chairs are great. Like, they're good for people, to have there. But, like, you need to let them know that, hey, this is, you don't have to sit in those chairs. You can get closer. You can support your players. And because of that, they also had these microphones that were right by the end of the stage. They were right there where the fans were sort of standing. I'm not sure if those were there during the entire event, just to sort of catch the crowd reactions. But either way, it was really awesome to have them there because you could hear, for instance, when CD Jr. was coaching the guy that was playing Perfect Legend, I forgot his name, the guy that was playing Perfect Legend anyway, you could hear him talking. You could hear him going, hey, no, do this, go to other character. You could hear him talking.
I think Denzel, the guy who took second place. Yeah,
anyway, it was very, very, you could tell that it was very thought out that they had done that, Right. So, very, very, very small thing, but it added up, so.
I'd venture to say that I would prefer them to take a couple of rows of chairs away from fighting games and push them back, so there's more. There's room for people to sit that want to sit there, but also more room to get like the crowd going. That's the FGC is kind of used to, so that way it gives them the feel that they're looking for. Take those chairs that they move and move them over to League of Legends. I mean, I think.
Could we have a mosh pit, please?
Hey, everyone wins. Everyone wins. Although I will say there was a funny moment where the fighting game crowd got so pumped up that they actually started standing up on the chairs Saturday night and getting ruckus because they were upset about the commercials, and they actually started putting money on who was going to be the first commentator to talk when they came back from commercial. The the MLG security was like, should we kick these guys out? We don't know what's going on. They're getting really hyped. I mean, is this a fight or something? But no, they were just
normal? What?
They were just betting on who was going to be the first person to talk. That was it. So it was really funny. It's a very interesting crowd of people. Jerry, before we start wrapping the show up, last thing, what were your thoughts on the fighting game events?
Good. I thought they were good. I think that Major League Gaming should be patient and keep doing it, because I think with time they'll grow. But I know MLG's got its own agenda. I am going to say on this show that if Halo 4 gets a spectator mode, it's going to be on the MLG Pro Circuit. The game looks amazing. If you're not a Halo fan, or if you're an old school Halo fan, I thought Halo 4 looked really, really good. I also think really high things about Gears of War Judgment. The Overgrown has a class system. It's fucking fun to watch. It's really interesting. I don't think the competitive community will like it, but it'll be very popular. I don't know. Can I rant a little bit?
Uh-oh.
Of course.
All right,
sure.
look.
As far as I know, we never turned down a rant.
I'm just got to get something off my chest because it really bugs the shit out of me. And the only way to do that is to make sure that this is sort of written for this, because somebody on Twitter said something and then they just didn't get it. And they just don't get it. They just don't get it. I'm going to make this really clear. If any of you are a sports fan, most sports fans don't worry about the players. You don't go to bed at night going, oh my God, I hope LeBron James is good tonight. You know, maybe if you got like $50,000 on the game, maybe, but that's not what you worry about. You worry about being entertained. You worry about good competition. And every time it comes to a game, I see so many people talk about who cares about spectator mode. I care if the game is good. Let me make it clear that it requires an entire equation. This is something that a lot of people don't know, that I want to give you sort of a behind-the-curtains look at Major League Gaming. Do you know that it is more expensive to stream on the console than it is on PC? It's more expensive. Halo was the most expensive game to run in the history of Major League Gaming. Capture cards, the video system, the screens, what was required because Halo didn't have a spectator mode made it the most expensive game to run on the Major League Gaming Pro Circuit. Once you understand that, you have to understand that if the developer doesn't put a spectator mode in it, MLG's got to justify putting Halo on, which will do less well than League of Legends and less well than StarCraft, yet spend more money streaming it. That doesn't make sense to me as a businessman. Why would I take a game with a smaller audience and less views, spend more money streaming it when I can stream two powerhouses and not have to pay as much? It is about the fans. It is about the fans. It is about the fans. I'm really, really getting tired of this whole eSports, the game's got to be competitive. You got to do this. You know what you got to do? You got to entertain fucking people. That's what you have to do. And if it entertains people, you will have eSports. How many of us did not believe League of Legends was going to do well because every Dota player told us that it was a dumbed-down version of the game? Not going to do well. Not going to do well. Not going to be interesting. This doesn't take any skill. You can't deny, etc., etc. But lo and behold, the stream numbers make League of Legends. Every one of those experts, those gamers who predicted that League of Legends would not be successful, they were wrong. They were really wrong. Why? Because all they thought about was how technically competent you had to be to play the game. They never considered how much fun it was to watch and that the easier the game is to get into, the easier it is to watch. I can't stress what I just said enough. The lower the barrier to entry, the more people who will know a little bit about the game. The more people who know a little bit about the game, the more people that are able to understand it when they watch it. eSport nerd elitism has no place in eSports. None. So if you think because Halo was on the circuit and was a big game in fucking 2006 and you were there for it, and well, you know what? You're not in fucking 2006 anymore. You're in 20 motherfucking 12. And in 2012, there are things like League of Legends and Starcraft that you could add years of MLG together and not come close to the profit that they're going to make now. So when you're out there thinking about Halo 4 and you're a Halo 4 fan, you might want to make sure you've made it real clear to 343 that they'd best get a spectator mode. And this goes through for any game you want on the circuit. Right? Firefall, another PC game. Right? Get a spectator mode. Somebody says we're going to make an eSports title, you need a spectator mode. See, that's the thing that really upsets me, is that every fucking gamer who plays some time on Xbox Live is a fucking residential expert. Halo 2 didn't have a fucking spectator mode. Halo Reach didn't have a spectator mode. All those did well. No, they didn't. The company lost money, in case you forgot. Dickwad. Boy. Right? So let's not get lost in this, that Halo was the most expensive game to stream. And let me make something else clear. A lot of people said, Jerry, what do you think about Call of Duty? I just don't figure out how you make it interesting to watch. If you solve that problem and you can get people who are fans of the game to watch it, then so be it. But I don't know anymore. I'm just not sure. And if you've got an entertaining Call of Duty match that you think fans would love, show it to me. Show me that match. Send me a link on Twitter. LordJerith. I want to see that popular match that everybody loved, that got high views. I want to know about it. So I can start to figure out what made that a good match. Something that could come close to StarCraft or League of Legends or even Halo for that matter. It's real important that everybody understands that eSports is about the fans, the spectators, the people who are being entertained. Because I'll tell you what, if fucking 9 million people want to watch Hello Motherfucking Kitty, guess what's going to become an eSport? And no matter what your elitist ass says, that's where the money is. And in case anybody misses it, it's about people being paid. So if your fucking console fat fucking hot pockets eating ass is still living with your mom and dad, you know what? Thank you for your opinion, but I'm probably not that impressed. I mean that in a kind and loving way, of course. All right, guys, I'm done.
But of course.
Glad you could get that off your chest. Get that out. Get that out. Cough, cough. There you go. You're good. It's all, it's all out. It's all out.
Ow, evil
I know, that hurts.
Ow,
I'm regain my voice. I'm serious, guys, though, but you know it's about the fans, don't you?
Of course.
Of course.
Well, you get that part that nobody cares if it was, who cares?
Dota 2 versus LOL is a perfect example. I mean,
I still think Dota 2 has a future. Let me make it clear. I'm not saying Dota 2. I'm glad you said something, though. I want to make it clear that I didn't say Dota 2 isn't going to work. I'm going to say that every Dota 2 player who said League of Legends was never going to make it, you were wrong. We were all wrong. I was wrong. I listened to you. I should have not. I should have listened to those casuals who kept telling me, LordJerith, this game is a lot of fun. LordJerith, this game is a lot of fun. You got to check it out. You got to check it out. But no, I listened to the Dota players, and they were wrong. And that's a fact. Those stream numbers prove it, and have been proving it for the last year. And now the game's got a developer who's got 5 million in. And for those of you who are wondering, Season 3 that Riot has planned will blow everything you have seen out of the water. Hear it here first. Season 3 that Riot has planned will blow every eSport event out of the water. There is an arms race between Blizzard and Riot for eSports, and I think that every chip Riot has is going into making Season 3 the most significant event in the history of eSports. So looking to the future, whether you like it or not, If you think that as a Dota elitist or a whatever elitist, Han, for those of you who still cling to that game, right? You still an elitist about that? Guess what? The world disagrees with you. And you are on the short end of a stick called suck it. Good luck to you. All right, I'm done. You guys.
I don't even know how I follow that. A short end of a stick called suck it. I'm keeping that quote. I like that, Jerry. That's good. And I guess that means we're on the short end of the episode now because it's just about over. So let's wrap it up. Yeah, there we go. Shout outs to our sponsors. As always, Control Freak, SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, the band Power Glove for supplying the music that we use each and every week here on the show. Big shout out to Guitar Hero. Just talked to Guitar Hero Eric, and he actually gave me the ability to announce there will be a huge Guitar Hero DLC sale starting tomorrow for the next week. A bunch of different packs from Guitar Hero and DJ Hero will be going 50% off. If you're a rhythm gamer, you want some new downloadable content, some new songs to play in Guitar Hero and DJ Hero, make sure to go pick those packs up. Half off DLC is always a good deal. Shout out to Eric from Guitar Hero for letting us announce that here first. Additionally, as always, we'd love to hear your feedback. So, on the bottom of our frames, we've got VV Paradise here on Twitter, LordJerith, at ENEKeyHunt on Twitter. Hit us up, follow us, let us know your thoughts. Please, if you have feedback for us, we want to hear it. If you want to email me directly, if you don't want to tweet it, you don't have a Twitter, something like that, paradise at vvvgaming.com is the way that you can get a hold of me. With that being said, Kurt, you're first up for shoutouts, my friend.
Yeah, guys, first off, thanks to iNcontroL for coming on, and once again, thanks for all he does to support the players that are slightly less known. He does an amazing job. I wish more players would do it. I'm trying to figure out a way now that we can do it as xSix. So I love it. Thanks to everyone, all the fans that came up to our guys at MLG. Like I said, we had 10 players there. It was an amazing event for us. I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but on top of Suppy, Mystic did amazing. Mystic made it to 5th for WCS, running through really, really amazing players. He made a great tear through the open bracket as well as Vayer and Perfect. Everyone really, really did even better than expected. So I really, really appreciate all the support. Suppy has a Reddit thread up right now. He's currently ranked 3rd on there. If everyone could go on Reddit and upvote his thread about his blog, that would be amazing. I would truly, truly appreciate it. We're also going to have an AMA for him coming up soon, where he'll be talking on Reddit, just sort of ask me anything, interview kind of type. So I really would appreciate it if you would look out for that as well. Yeah, that's about it. I appreciate it.
Very cool. Jerry, you're last up. What are your thoughts? Any shout outs?
A big shout out to all the vVv community that was out at MLG Anaheim. Medusa, Paradise, Sugar Bear, Doomhammer, Craft Dinner, Rapture, Robsy God. We met Amon, one of our writers. We have a Chiral, his girlfriend, who was fantastic. A shout out to Kristen. There's so many people I could mention. Just a shout out to all the VV community that came out. Good job to CD Jr., RTD, as well as Romance, and a very sort of sad goodbye to Rio. I kicked the shit out of my StarCraft players, too. I won't be surprised if they all yell at me and leave, but, it was time. Hopefully they'll bounce back. And League of Legends going strong. Learn the metagame, play the game. If you go to the VV forums right above the shout box, there is From the Desk of LordJerith, MLG Anaheim. Read the thread. I have good information in there. All right, I'm out of here. You take it away, Jason.
Awesome, most definitely. I actually think I'm going to just end the show right now because, to be fair, I've been away from my house for about a week, and I really want to go play League of Legends. You just talking about that makes me ache right here in my chest because I miss the game. I miss it. So everyone have a good week. Enjoy some gaming. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.